Well, I'll just record it onto my computer because I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find it eventually or get help to do it. So let's get started. And if we have technology issues, I'm sure she's probably had plenty of those.
Yeah.
I mean, if we all just like group collab and go, I swear we were there, I'm sure like it'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay, so we need to designate roles, don't we?
Yeah.
Does anybody have those pulled up already?
Yeah, so there's only 3. One's the recorder/organizer, which would be you since you've already done that. And the other 2 are discussion leader and data manager. So do we want to just have like one leader and then the last 3 of us do the data manager part? Because that's just summarizing it.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. Does anyone want to volunteer to be the leader?
Following the leader, the leader.
I mean, I'll be the leader if you guys want me to, but
I don't
Go right
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
okay. So then that would make Dylan, Brittany, and Maddie our data people at the end, just summarizing the discussion for the last few minutes of the session.
All right, Gucci. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. So it says to discuss at least some of the questions because there's 17. So I don't know if you guys care, but I don't really want to go over all 17 unless we have time.
Yeah, she didn't say we had to. All she
Yeah.
wanted us to do was go over ones in particular. So
I think if everyone just had a turn, if that's
Yeah.
cool with you, team leader.
That was what I was figuring. I just say like, I mean, if you guys have the screen up right now that has the questions, if you guys just pick one that it's your favorite question and want to go over it, I'm totally good with that.
Okay. Sounds good.
So I mean, I guess since I'm the team leader, I can go first unless someone else would like to volunteer to go first.
Dude, you go ahead, team leader.
All right. So for the, I don't know, let's see. I'll pick number 9, which is what is the government's role in doing all of this? And as I was reading the chapter by Truth Overruled by whatever his name is, Ryan T. Anderson, he discussed that the government's role is not to create marriage, but to recognize it as a channel for procreative love into a stable institution that provides for the orderly bearing and rearing of the next generation. I never thought about the role of government as being important. I'm like, it's family marriages, you know, like how does the government have anything to do with that? But I guess it's, you know, to protect the family from becoming something that it's not. And I mean, he talks about how the government isn't supposed to be, you know, trying to change what the definition of the family and marriage is, but to protect it as a specific unit that is needed for society. So, I mean, that's what I got from it. I don't know if you guys got anything else. If you guys have any questions or anything that you'd like to add to it, that was my thoughts and impressions on that question.
Oh no, I think that's pretty cool. I think it's interesting because that's the same thing I thought is like, why would the government need to be involved?
Yeah, same.
But I think when it came down to it, I think they hella need to be involved because you have so kids obviously who aren't gonna have parents. Sometimes orphans. You're gonna have kids that need to be taken away from families through CPS. But at the same time, I think what I mostly got from government needing to be there was the fact that what's the basic unit of society versus civilization, right? It was like the family. And so a big civilization is just, you know, a government. And so I think it's important that they do sort of regulate. But I think what I kind of wanted to talk about is if it's cool, if I could like transition into what my question.
No, perfect.
Yeah, my question I really enjoyed was number 6. Which was how would you define the word family, which I'm not exactly going to define the word family, but what I get super frustrated about is the fact that I think there is no real definition anymore. Sorry, I'm a little sick. I think we've kind of strayed so far away from what a family is, and I think it's so kind of vague now. And I think that's why we have to, like, when we wrote down, or not we, but when the church leaders wrote down the proclamation, right? I think it got a lot of flack because we wrote a definition down, and that was like a big problem to people. But I think when you don't write it down, then what's the importance? You know what I mean? If there's no definition, then it's not, I feel like, stone. It's just kind of vague. And this is just the biggest problem I have, is that we have no clear definition in our society, that it can just be anything, that it's friends. But at the end of the day, you know, it's blood. But
Yeah. Another thing that Anderson spoke about was that he was saying that this new trying to define marriage as something that's just for love and emotional, how that takes away any boundaries that there should be anything for marriage. Like, if it's just for emotion and love, then why can't it be multiple people? Why can't it be that there's no sexual fidelity? Why does, like, if you try to become very broad in your definition, then you're gonna suffer the needed boundaries. You're giving up those needed boundaries that keep it as a strong foundational unit in society.
Well,
which is exactly, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's not mix up, because there he was talking about specifically the definition of what marriage was, as opposed to what the definition of family was. And that is an entire different issue. There also, the definition of family is being dissolved as much as the definition of marriage is in today's society. But in the distinct of this talk, when I was reading it, I was wondering, it sounds like to me that people are kind of confusing the definition of family a little bit, because family can be emotional, like, because there's children who are adopted who become family with the people who adopted them. There's really close friends or people who support you who can become family closer than blood ties ever did. So there's just in this discussion, there's just a very distinct between the definition of the family is what we're focusing on, not so much the definition of the family, although I wouldn't be surprised if later on in this unit we also really go into that as well. So.
All right, so is there anything else that anyone wants to say on it, or should we move on to another question?
I'm good. I liked question number 4. It says, using doctrine, how would you articulate to a fellow LDS, I am in favor of marriage between a man and a woman because, and there's a lot of doctrine out there talking about marriage and how it should be between a man and a woman. We have the family proclamation. We know it says, and that marriage between man and woman is essential to his eternal plan. And I also read somewhere, David A. Bednar had said that there are 2 compelling doctrinal reasons. And the reason one is the nature of male and female spirits complete and perfect each other, and therefore men and women are intended to progress together toward exaltation. And then for reason 2, he gave, by divine design, both a man and a woman are needed to bring children into mortality and to provide the best setting for the rearing and nurturing of the family. So we know our purpose on here, one of our purposes, I guess, is procreation. And you can't do that with, 2 women or 2 men. I mean, there's always adoption, but you need a man and a woman to be able to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I feel like marriage should be, based off of the fact that it's needed for procreation and everything. And I also like that it's not that with that question, it talks about like what we stand for, And it's not bashing on others. It's just saying what we stand for. And I mean, it's kind of off on a tangent with that question, but that's something that I really liked, is that we're not trying to bash others. We're just trying to say, look, this is what we stand for. And this is why.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think it's important to like take into account, if you are talking to people who aren't members of the church, just to be sensitive to their situations and stuff, and not make it seem like we're judging them for their choices.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Wait, is there anything else? Because I was going to do the question that kind of had to do with all of that, just because when it comes to like marriage, I don't know, personally, I have a very strong opinion about it. And I believe that anyone could believe what they want, opinions, and I respect every opinion from everyone. But the question that I really liked was number 11. And to go off of what you said, Hayden, I feel like not everyone, but there are some people out there in the church who do bash these people who want to get married. I'm not saying everyone, but there's a small percentage of people that do that. And I don't think that's right. I think that that gives the people who are doing gay marriage or same-sex marriage the feeling that they don't belong, that they're different, that what they're doing is of the devil type of thing, because they make them feel like that. I feel like if we just respect each other's beliefs and opinions, we may not agree with them, we may not accept what they're doing, but at the end of the day, if we stick to what we believe in and teach our children like what we believe is right, then that should be all that matters. You shouldn't sit here and argue with someone about how they feel or who they want to get married to or what they're doing with their life. You don't have to agree with it, but you also don't have to bash them. And I feel like that's what's so wrong about both sides, is that they bash each other instead of actually hearing each other out and sitting down and being like, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. And that's what's so frustrating about it, is the fact that people have this strong definition of marriage, but the world is changing. And like we notice in the church is changing too because of how the world's changing. But it's just like we don't really sit down and think about exactly what's going on. We just kind of know this is right. I'm not hearing your opinion. And they're super biased. And I don't know. I just think that it kind of also ties into question number, where is it? Question number 7. No. Yeah. 7? Either 7 or, I had it. 7:13. It could tie into a lot of questions, but I don't know.
What I really liked is that you brought up agency. We all have our agency. We can't take that away from anyone. And so I think that's important to remember, is that, well, yes, we stand for what we stand for. We also have to remember everyone has their own agency, and we can't force them to do anything unless they want to do it. You know, it's their agency.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's just one of those topics that are very like sensitive, and it's just like somebody's toes always get stepped on. Doesn't matter who, like it could be members of the church, it could be non-religious people in the church. And I've noticed that too, because I watched the video about, like, they asked people on the streets of Chicago about if they think that gay marriage should be legal, or that they believe that gay people should be able to get married. And a lot of people, surprisingly, in the video said like they don't care. Like, it's their life. It doesn't affect me at the end of the day. I'm not the one who's in their shoes. They can do whatever they want with their life. And then there was one question, and I kind of want to like get everyone's opinion on this. There was a question, and it said like, why do straight people care what they do? And I'm just like curious what everyone thinks about that. Like, are you more like personal beliefs? Because not even all religious people are like against gay people. It could be also because you were raised in a house where it's like man and a woman and children. You know what I mean? Because I know in the South it's like that a lot. So because I have family down there, but it has nothing to do with religious beliefs.
Okay,
So,
so if I'm understanding your question right,
well, that was their question. It wasn't mine, but.
well, yeah, you want everybody's opinion about the question of why should straight people care, whether or not.
Yeah, like, what is your opinion on, like, the marriage, like, aspect of, like, families and stuff? Like, is it more, like, gospel, or is it more, like, personal, like, grown-up beliefs? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's a loaded question, but I'm curious.
Well, I mean, this is something I've had to think about a lot in the past few years because I have two siblings who just recently told me that they were gay and lesbian. So all of this has been just like, oh, okay, now these are things that I need to think about, when before I was basically raised in a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I think straight people should be care and should be well informed in this is because even though we do have, and as LDS people, we have this belief that the family is central to the plan, and that through the family, that is where we obtain the best environment for obtaining a physical body and spiritual rebirth. That is the place where those things can best occur. That is not to say that the other families can't do that as well. Like single mothers, gay and lesbian, they can also create environments where there are very strong citizens of society, very amazing people, and so on and so forth, and that kind of thing. But with a father, mother at the household, that is the best. That is the ideal. But I feel like it's really important for straight people to be aware of this, is because some people in their belief of making sure that traditional family is best, they often do get very discriminatory, or even just outright denying some people their rights, their basic human rights that have nothing to do with marriage whatsoever in the process. Like theirs was a huge issue about not allowing people living situations because of they were gay or lesbian. And I feel like it's our job as citizens to make sure that everybody's human rights are protected, no matter whether they're gay or lesbian or straight or not. And it's also important for us to be informed and in the process, because if marriage is redefined, which I'm pretty sure we're going to be hearing about in the future chapter, it could start having implications for our religious beliefs. Like someday I wouldn't be surprised if they start demanding that we let people into the temples more. But as part of our religious belief, it's our right to deny people coming from, well, not our right, but by upholding the laws that God has set, that the temple is meant for the people who are ready for that level of learning. So I don't know. Did any of that make sense? I kind of bounced around.
Oh yeah, it made total sense, honestly. Like, and I respect your opinion. Like I said, I believe everyone has opinions for it. It's just a lot of people, I feel like there's just so much hate in this world and so much confusion that people just don't sit down and talk about it. They just sit and argue about it, and it doesn't go anywhere. And they point the finger at each and everyone. But really, there's nothing wrong with a religion to believe this is what I believe and this is how I'm going to live my life. Because everyone has a choice. They have agency to live their life how they want to. But because I see it as like God or Heavenly Father, like it's between the things that you do in your life are between you and Heavenly Father, not you, Heavenly Father, and everyone else. Yeah, like that. I'm a strong believer for that. And I'm just like, if people are going to live their life how they want to, great. They're living their life how they want to. But I'm only worried about what I'm doing with mine, if that makes sense. And I could uplift other people who are struggling, but I can't make them or force them to live the lifestyle I'm living.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with what you're saying.
I also feel like people should be a little bit concerned, straight or otherwise, is because the implications, like it doesn't just not affect, it might not affect you personally, but it will affect society on some level, either if not now, then eventually. Just like if when teenagers decide to get it on in the back seat of a car, most people wouldn't think that's not going to affect me, that's their decision, that's what they're going to do. But most of the time that ends in a single mother who's a teenager herself, and 75% of those girls who end up pregnant are unmarried, and they end up on health care and welfare within 4 years of that time period. And that does affect us as a society for needing to put money in order to take care of those people that are not being taken care of the way they should have been. So we're not seeing it now, but I'm pretty sure it'll be laid out in the chapters to follow. There are consequences to every action, good, bad. So I'm pretty sure the gay and lesbian movement and the making it lawful for them to marriage and so forth, we are going to be seeing some consequences eventually in our society in a long term.
Okay.
Maddie, Dylan, you're a little quiet. Is there anything you guys wanted to
I just think maybe we should rein it in. I just have to go to a dinner or something. I do think at the end of the day, this class is not about forcing or anything. We're just supposed to advocate, right? Because it's an advocacy class. So we're supposed to advocate for what we learn in this class, the definition of family is. And I think that's what just trying to get to the bottom of what family is. It's not about forcing or hating or not hating or pregnancy. I think it's just about advocating for what marriage or family is. So.
Standing strong in our beliefs without forcing or trying to, as you said, forcing or pushing it on anybody else, because you can't make somebody just believe.
Then they won't be happy.
Yeah. I totally agree. So Sapphire, you're the last one that needs to do a question, right?
Yeah, I kind of already touched on it. It was one of the very first questions about how President Christopherson touched on what aspects, what doctrine did he talk about in his talk, and the following question about why is it important that we study the doctrine before we studied everything else. And I feel like that's really important for us to know, because we need to make sure to understand where we stand firmly, because it is important to be open. It's important to be able to look at other people's point of view and then be able to understand. But if we're not strong in our own belief and don't understand our own doctrine, it becomes really easy to just kind of be swung back and forth with all the information, because there's a lot of secular and religious information out there that has parts of the truth in it, but it has some untruths hidden inside the truth, and there's half truths and so on and so forth. So once we're really grounded in the doctrine, then it becomes easier to pick out, oh, that is in line with the doctrine, that's in line with the doctrine, and that's not quite there, and to be able to pinpoint what is truth and what is not.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that too, as using those doctrines to create your foundation, because if you don't have a sturdy foundation, like you said, you are not going to be able to stay strong and understand what your true beliefs are, but you'll be swayed back and forth. Should we just go over Dylan, Maddie, and Brittany? Is there a certain way you guys want to do this summary thing?
Well, I could summarize it real quick. We don't have to split it all the way around, but I think we just kind of started out, just split up the questions 6 different ways, right? We all grabbed a question.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the definition of family. We talked about why it's important for marriage to be between a man and a woman. We talked about love and not judging and hatred, and spoke a little bit about the talk. And I guess kind of wrapped it up with talking about what the doctrine, what actual doctrine means. But I think it's most important that this is advocacy. I think that's what we discussed, that it's not a persuasion class, right? We're taking an advocacy class. I think that's what we focus mostly on. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Anything anyone wants to add to that? I thought it was pretty good summary.
Yeah, I did too.
Cool beans, my dudes. Cool beans.
All right, I think that's all we need to do. Sapphire, if you have any problems with recording, just let me know.
All right, I think I'll be able to figure out fine. It should just save onto my computer, and then I'll probably just be able to find it and upload it or convert it into a version that she'll be able to get onto easily. So hopefully next time we won't have so much technological problems now that we've kind of worked out the kinks a little bit, and we'll be able to get discussion going a little faster next time.
Yeah.
Yep. Same
All
bad
right,
time.
it was nice meeting all of you.
Yeah, you
Cool.
too. Have a good day, guys.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.